Hey guys, Dave from Nerdarchy, for nerds, by nerds, hanging out with this nerd.
I'm Ted.
Today we have a GM 911, and this time we have the case of MultiClassing Madness.
If you have a GM 911, you can send an email over to nerdarchy@gmail.com, or you can submit it on our forums on nerdarchy.com.
So we have a GM, and the problem is he feels his player is kind of abusing the multi-classing rules in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, and he's trying to power game the system.
As of right now, the character is a 6th level rogue, 2nd level fighter, and he's an assassin. He only took fighter for action surge, and he wants to dip into warlock for devil sight, and then monk for Kai points.
Okay, so first of all, to get Devil Sight, I believe you have to he's gonna have to take at least 2 levels of Warlock.
Right.
I don't believe you get any invocations until 2nd level.
Correct.
And then on top of that, he's gonna dip into Monk for Kai points.
Right, and you start getting Kai points at 2nd level.
So again, 2 levels.
Two levels to really get what he's looking for.
So we're looking at 12 levels, right? Just for the bare minimum of everything. Okay, only 8 more levels in the game technically.
Mm-hmm.
Do you realize how many stat bumps and feat possibilities your player just gave up? Like all of them.
Well, if 2 levels of fighter, 2 levels of warlock, 2 levels of monk to get the extra stuff he's looking for.
Yes.
That means he's going to cap out as a 14th level rogue.
Yeah, if he goes rogue the rest of the way.
If he goes rogue the rest of the way. Now, it sounds like that's what he's looking to do. So from one more.
So when I look at multi-classing, when people ask me questions about it for optimization purposes, I always say do it on blocks of 4 unless you're a fighter. Then you can change it up a little bit because it's really based off of feats, right?
Right.
Feats and your stat bumps. They're very limited. So
they are something that they're not a dime a dozen. It takes work to get there, and every time you make that sacrifice, it's like, all right, is that worth it to you? Now, some character builds it isn't, but some, well, clearly this guy thinks it is.
I feel like all he's doing is giving himself more options, not necessarily better. Like, first of all, like if your goal is just to get more sneak attack, you've limited the amount of sneak attack damage you're going to do.
Yes.
Because you've multi-classed. And on top of that, sneak attack in 5th edition isn't that hard to get.
I absolutely agree with you.
Like, disadvantage, have advantage on the attack, have an ally adjacent. That's it.
Well, I think the idea that this character is going for, that they're saying that, or he believes, and it's up to the DM as to how he wants to rule it, that if I can see in complete darkness and you can't, every attack is going to be a surprise, and therefore, under the rules of assassin, every surprise hit is a threat.
No, that's not how it works.
Well, that's what I believe the player is thinking.
But it's not how it works. You have to. The enemy has to have not acted in the encounter. So as long as they act, they're no longer eligible to receive the assassinate class feature. So essentially you can only get that once an encounter.
Once an encounter. And you have to beat them on initiative.
And you have to beat them on initiative or have surprise. I mean, there is a couple things, like I guess if you surprise them, you would get assassinate. If you then beat them on initiative, you get it again. If you action surge, you can get it again. But so that's just like fighter and rogue. Like the other things aren't really going to do that much for you. With monk, like you can try and knock them over, so you can have advantage. But to me, it'd be easier just to have an ally position himself.
Right.
You'd be better off trying to hide or something like that and gain it that way.
And with rogue, you've got that ability anyway. And by taking all those levels, you are losing the death strike ability of assassin, and that's the when you hit a creature that is surprised, it must make a Constitution save, On a failed save, double the damage against the creature. So if you're looking to really just kill them, if you've surprised them, you're auto-critting. They have to make a con save or take essentially a double crit. Why would you not want to go for that?
Right, like, so essentially, like, if your player really wanted to optimize this, he would take one level of fighter and then go rogue all the way.
Well, no, they wants second level to get the action surge.
Oh, yeah, action surge is second level. I'm sorry. So
you could go 18 rogue, and I would still get you this because this is 17th level. But anything more than 3 alternate levels, and you miss out on the primary ability.
Yeah, like I hear this all the time that multi-classing is so strong. I don't want it in my game. Blah blah blah. It's not. You makes the character more diverse and have like interesting options. But the more powerful characters, in my opinion, are single class. They get the stronger abilities.
Yeah, there's a handful of choice abilities at those high levels, and you're talking 16 to 20 when you get them. So every class has them, and they're in there somewhere.
Or if you're talking about a spellcaster, your most powerful spells, even if you're mixing spellcasting classes, you have the spell slots, but you don't have access to the higher level spells.
And I saw this completely in one of the games that I was in. I had a character who was all over the map, and like I paled in comparison to the person who came in with just a straight wizard, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna drop a meteor swarm on him," and I just guffawed.
Yeah,
at the
because there's nothing
damage.
you could do. Yeah.
I'm like, I can't come anywhere close to that
because it's like 40d6 or something.
It's ridiculous.
Even jacking your spells up, it's just...
It's like, no, there's literally nothing I can.
Now the other thing is the GM brought up the idea of role playing. Okay, so like how do you justify taking all these multi-classes from a role-playing perspective? Warlock is really easy because you're just taking on a pact or whatever. Right. The monk one might be trickier, but here's the thing, right? I kind of look at the classes as a suite of abilities. Sometimes they're professions, sometimes they're not.
If you are going to dabble, you are not that thing.
Yes.
If you are someone who says, you know what, I'd like a little bit of training in monk. Okay, well, let's face it. Anyone who's possibly done a little bit of scrapping knows a little bit about fighting fisticuffs. So you could say, all right, well, I just talked to one of them and I learned a couple of things. You're not getting into the whole tradition, and you're not getting into all this other stuff. If you haven't gone and taken a test and become part of this order of such and such, then you're not a monk.
Yeah, I mean, chances are like that character could seek out someone who is a unarmed combat specialist, like if that's what you're going for. Because if you're only going for a couple levels anyway, you're not even fully vesting yourself in the tradition,
right?
So it doesn't even matter. He didn't say what kind of monk, and based off of the other decisions that this character made, like if you went with the way of the Shadow Monk, it actually makes sense anyway.
Right.
And he could actually I could totally see some kind of like Shadow Being or Shadow Fiend as the Warlock pack. So I don't really think it's that big a deal. I always find it's fairly easy to adjust the RP in accordance with the mechanics.
Yeah.
One can inform the other.
Right.
So I don't really sweat it as much.
Anytime you're adding something, sorcerer, warlock, cleric, paladin, these are things that there is really a zero time requirement to make happen. It's just a conversation.
You've been touched.
It's just a conversation between the DM and the player saying, "Hey, can we make this happen?" The other things they do require a little bit of work, but a character could be trying to pursue them in their downtime, or just talking to someone that happens to know that particular skill set.
Right. I feel like too, like that the DM was kind of like, I don't really want him to do all this multiplaying, so let me just throw a stumbling block out, right? Which are all these multi-classes, and let me throw the stumbling block out there, and it's the X, RP. Blah blah blah, whatever. It doesn't really matter. And really, like I said, and like Ted said, I don't really think multi-classing is all that strong. I think it lets you do cool, interesting things, but I don't think you're nearly as powerful as someone who is, a specialist.
I agree. So if he wants to go down this road and take 6+ levels off of his rogue ability, let him. And he's gonna feel that heat the first time that someone tries to assassinate him.
Right, because he's gained access to 1 feat or stat bump so far, and if he does another 14 levels, he will gain 2 more. So he's shaved off 2.
Right. As a second level fighter, second level rogue, second level fighter, second level monk, second level warlock, you miss 2 stat bumps off of the rogue 20, and you're not going to get any from them in those classes.
And I almost feel like this character would probably want something like alertness or skulker or some of those feats that assist.
You're gonna need alertness, because you want that if you're trying to maximize assassinate, which I've played that. You need to have alertness. You need to have a 20 dex. You want that +9, +10 to initiative to guarantee you're going first, because if you don't get the surprise off, you still want to make sure you go first, because you're building it around that central ability.
Yeah, so we don't know that that's the case, but more than likely it is. What do we say? We said they're going to lose 2 stat bumps.
2 stat bumps.
So they can still technically get their 20 in dex.
Uh-huh.
But that's it. Like, they just get there if they take alertness.
Right.
And there will be no upping of your other stat abilities. So, and there's certain ones that kind of help, like, I don't know, con. So there's definitely, it's a trade-off. And I don't feel like it's that big a deal in my game. I wouldn't worry about it. I think as the game progresses and he keeps doing this, he's going to see the difference. And not only that, like, maxing out his dex is going to take that much longer as well. If he's building these other into these multi-classes first.
Right.
So that's my opinion. You guys let us know in the comments below. How do you feel about multi-classing? Like it, hate it, whatever. While you're at it, like, share, and subscribe.
You can check out all the awesome stuff over on nerdarchy.com.
Until next time,
stay nerdy.